Welcome back, guys. Baby got stacks. It's been a minute, but
It's been a while.
But I promise we are here. We are still reading. We never post
Mostly.
June's schedule.
Oh,
I just thought
I'll
of
get
that.
on that. It's been a whirlwind. What a month.
It's been a long month. You went to California. We had concerts, and then I got sick before the
then it was
concerts,
Memorial
and then
Day,
it's the Memorial Day.
and then I had worked the
Li-
weekend, and then here we
life,
are.
life happened, but we're back. I posted that photo. We had a couple new followers. I don't remember their names,
Ooh.
but
Hi.
yeah, hello. So I was pretty excited about that. We will be recording,
We're
back to
playing
back.
catch up. So
Yes.
you will get all of the books that we have planned.
Mm-hmm.
It's just gonna be some back to back action.
Yes.
So
One,
fear
I
not.
will say, one took a little bit longer. Oh, I didn't realize mine. Did I do that? Mine's a little fucked
I
up.
do that.
Mine's a
Oh,
little.
that is really fucked up.
I know. Did I?
You wouldn't have bought it like that.
I know. But I don't know when I would have done that. Okay, whatever. I don't see myself keeping this. So
Oh.
I honestly don't even remember what I rated it. This episode we're doing some true crimey.
True crimey nonfiction.
The Cold Vanish by Jon Billman.
Seeking the missing in North America's wilderness. I was very intrigued. I was very excited when we saw this in the store.
Mm-hmm.
This sounds right up our alley.
Yeah, because I don't know if you've seen it, but I've seen Missing 411, which was a series that was on either Hulu or I think I watched it on Hulu maybe.
I forget what it was, but I watched the children's one.
Okay. I saw the children's one
children.
and the Hunters one, and both were phenomenal.
They were
And
really good.
John does bring that up in this book. He knows or talks to the person that made them.
Yeah.
So I was hoping that this would kind of be like the 411 vibe, like, because I was obsessed with those. I loved that. I give this a 3 out of 5 on Goodreads.
Now here's my situation with this book. I've been reading it for what feels like this entire month of May. Because it probably has been this entire month of May. I took it to California with me when I was visiting my family. I brought it back. We've been going on trips together. Yeah. And I've made little progress. Now, a lot of it was time constraints. I just haven't had the time or the energy to read it. But also just haven't been wanting to pick it up all that much, really. Just the way it's written, the cases he's talking about are interesting. But the way he's written it and the order and just the way it's laid out, it's very kind of discombobulating.
It's fucky wucky is what it is.
It is what scientists call a fucky wucky.
I thought, so I kind of like goofed myself because they talked about, so I thought this book was going to be mainly about Jacob Gray. Jacob Gray was a missing person that had gone missing in the Olympic National Park in Washington. And I thought that this book was mainly going to be about that. Now, when we changed to another bigger story, Amy, I don't remember her last name, but I've got a news article on my phone. I thought that was going to be the end of Jacob. So I then Googled to see the ending, kind of spoiled the ending for myself because they do discuss what happened. He is found. I believe about a year later is when they found him. I think he went missing in 2017 and they found him in 2018. And I highlighted the crap. So This book is also on Kindle Unlimited. If you have Kindle Unlimited, it's free to download and read. So I downloaded it, and that's how I took my notes, is I just highlighted the crap out of this book so that way I can take experts. You know what
expert. That's funny.
definitely not one of those. So that way I could kind of reference, because they do bring a lot of interesting topics, mainly the sense of there's not a clear picture of how many people actually go missing in national parks, because there's a lot of gray areas of whose land it is, who has the right to search, who technically isn't like a missing person. I mean, once they're over the age of 18, sometimes people just want to disappear,
start a new life.
And so there's a lot of factors, and there was talk about making databases for people to put information in, so that way people are aware of if they see certain things, maybe they can add to it. If they see camping equipment or things like that that color tent was from this missing person, or things like that. So that was really interesting, and I tabbed a couple of numbers of vaguely of what they are thinking, but there's too many states, too many jumping back and forth, lots of things on Bigfoot.
I really wanted this to be focused on Jacob Gray, and then I understand bringing in other cases because there were other missing people at the time of Jacob's, when he went missing at the same week. So if they're searching and find something else, was it Jacob or was it someone else? But there was a sentence at this part where somewhere in here where it's I'm not focusing on the hokey stuff, was it Bigfoot, was it aliens, blah blah blah, and then he goes in and talks to Bigfoot trackers and stuff, which is are theories in some people's minds, so they're out there. So I understand wanting to put a line or two in there as and there are these theories, sure, but there were a lot in here.
It just kind of went all over there was the Bigfoot, and then there was so the author follows Jacob's dad in the whole endeavor of trying to find his son, and they just go they go up to Canada for cults. They go all over the place, and
they look into every possibility. Well, if he's not in this park, did he get talked into joining a cult? Did he get talked into going with this group? Whatever. Which, as a father looking for his son, he wants to exhaust every single possibility, even though he doesn't think that his son ever would. So there, I understand. But as a reader I wanted to learn about missing people in the wilderness. I wanted to learn how does that work? Missing park versus national park versus national forest. That's different. Who's allowed to search? When can search and rescue dogs be brought in? When can helicopters be used? The weather makes it nearly impossible most of the time to search. And I wanted to learn more about that specifically and focus on that, because that in and of itself is a whole lot. And that's a lot of information that a lot of people don't know. Because they're not actually collecting all that information at all. But then it's really, he just went all over the place, this author.
It was very hard to...
I think my main problem is how he wrote this. And maybe if it were like categorized differently, like if he like had different sections and like left things instead of intermingling everything.
Yeah, because I thought we were done with Jacob because we went on to other things, and then so then I Googled it, and then I was like, oh, okay. And then as I get reading, I'm just like,
Yeah, because we started with that, and then we jumped to a completely different area, and he talks about things there, and then he's like, and then back to Jacob. It's like, what is happening? And I'm like halfway done with the book. I'm not even through. And I will probably finish this. It probably won't be anytime soon. It'll be a slow, maybe by the end of June. I'll get it.
It was brutal. I loved the first part, but then they lost me at the second part. Like then it got into like comparing that part to the Holy Land, and then like it just went so left field. I was so confused by so many things.
Wasn't the way it needed to be laid out to consume this information.
Yeah, no. I guess I could read the back of the book.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
I was reading it, I was like, oh, I did not read that. Also, when authors have the little...
Oh, I forget what that's called. When the cover page is just a hair shorter, just so that little strip of the back page of like
I'm not a fan.
A review is showing. I forget what it's called. I don't like it.
Yeah, no. Okay. Yeah, no. On April 4th, 2017, a cyclist named Jacob Gray left his bike on the side of the road, disappearing into Olympic National Park. He is one of the many who, each year, vanish seemingly without a trace. In the Cold Vanish, Jon Billman follows Jacob's father, Randy Gray, in his courageous search for his son. Braided around this narrative are accounts of those who fill the vacuum created by a vanished human being. Back County search and rescue experts, the world's foremost Bigfoot researcher, and countless others who dedicate their time to assist those desperately searching for loved ones. By delving into the voids left behind by the missing, this book embraces the histories of the lost. But at its core, The Cold Vanish is about now and tomorrow when another person will be lost to the wilderness. These are the stories that should give you pause every time you venture outdoors, lest you be next. Now I can get to all of my notes.
Like, I have a lot of annotations. Like, I wrote on Post-its, and it's tabbed what I've read.
So the person that did... So the Missing 411 are actually books. It's 6 volumes, and then they made it into a documentary-esque on Hulu, and that's what Mel and I were talking about earlier. That author launched the Can-Am Missing Project, which catalogs cases of people who disappear or are found on wildlands across North America under what he calls mysterious circumstances. So there are certain like catalogs or places that like have the missing people. I also learned that this is one thing that I tabbed. In most states, Washington is one. After 7 years, a missing person is considered deceased, so they are no longer missing. Before 7 years, someone who wants you declared dead needs evidence you're not alive. After 7 years, they need evidence you're not dead.
I also tabbed that.
I had no idea. I guess I never really had to think about it, but
yeah,
it was interesting. I don't know. Obviously, Mel and I don't live in Washington. We live in Oregon. I don't know if it's different there. Washington's close enough, but
yeah. Also, it mentions Washington, so like it has to be different. It has state.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, there's plenty of national parks that like span several states, and so that gets extra confusing because like, how do you know where they technically passed? Maybe an animal dragged them, maybe, just natural weather. That's a big part of whatever.
It. Like, yeah,
crazy.
Also, another thing I tabbed: consider Oregon's national parks and national forests. Since 1997, 190 men and 51 women have vanished.
So high.
We have Crater Lake National Park is probably the biggest one in Oregon. Usually kind of like where Mel and I are, like Willamette Valley-esque. I mean, there's a lot of trees around us, so I'm sure a lot of people go missing, but I thought it was
had plenty of serial killer activity here back in the day.
Yeah,
there are places to hide,
especially with I-5. Yeah,
like.
So then we get into we kind of get into Jacob. I must have tabbed down the next tab I have is about Amy. But I feel like I must have done Jacob. Because well, consider that Oregon National Park is page 26.
Okay.
And then it jumps into Amy in page 27. But I feel like did they not touch on Jacob on like where he, like the weird circumstances about Jacob? Because I didn't tab that. I thought I did.
Oh, a little bit. Like his home life primarily.
And then I thought that it so basically what happened was Jacob's bike was found just off of the road with like a bunch of stuff, and but stuff was missing to make them think that maybe he was like camping somewhere close by, or had just like maybe meandered over by like the river, or like,
they thought maybe he was gonna like refill his water.
But there was 4 arrows that were like lined up by his bike that was like super weird. They also never touch on like what, I mean, we'll get to the end of like what happened, but they never bring up the arrows. Like we have no idea why he put the arrows there. They thought it symbolized like maybe something, but I mean, we can't ask Jacob. So then we kind of jump to Amy. See, this is where it gets a little jumpy and it's confusing. Amy was from Wyoming, I believe. I can hear my dog with his dog toy. We're gonna shut the door. I want to say Amy. Amy's on page 14. Kind of talks about, so she went missing in the summer of 1997. Okay, so it's kind of interesting. So Amy was getting ready to run I don't remember how long she was running for. That's what I was thinking. But so she was mapping out where she was going to do this at, and was never found. A week and a half after Amy vanished, her husband Steve sealed his public fate as the villain when he lawyered up and refused to take a polygraph test. He never wanted to take one. He was never forced to take one either.
And that's always like a double-edged sword, because one, you don't have to take one, and like they're not like accurate a lot of the time. There's a lot of ways to get by it. Like if you just relax yourself, there's techniques to like bypass it. But also a lot of people get super weird and judgy when you refuse to take it and be like, well, if you were innocent, then you would just take it and be done with it. Like, well,
well, and then the police,
like, are they even permissible in courts anymore?
That I don't know. I'm not sure, honestly. Well, and so the police found her car, and they like I think like a next door neighbor was like near the area, and they let them drive the car back home. So they like contaminated any evidence that was in the vehicle. Granted, this was 97, so like but I
also
What?
There was just a really good quote from True Detective of all things. It was played by the Woody Harrelson's character that's in this book, and it's you attach an assumption to a piece of evidence, you start to bend the narrative to support it, prejudice yourself, and just the officers just wanted it to be the husband. So
yeah,
and a lot of times it is the husband, but not every fucking time.
Not every
Which is
time.
why we have detectives.
Exactly. So I Googled Amy. She is still missing. They have never found her. The article that I read was this year. So it is still an active missing persons case. The husband, Steve, has now remarried and has children in the same town that Amy and him lived in. People don't really harass them. They kind of just went on with their lives and called it a day. But yeah, so there's been no new updates on Amy and her whereabouts. We then there's like multiple people. Let me see. They thought maybe Amy was killed by, there was a serial killer at that time called Dale Eaton. There was multiple people that said that maybe he had done it. Cops said no because they were convinced that it was the husband. And then I believe that Dale had gotten caught like after, and they had asked if like anything at the house, because he had like the trophies, if anything like resembled things that like of Amy's. They're like no. And then the husband Steve had asked if he could see any of the evidence that they had collected.
He could go in and look at,
and they're like
stuff. No,
nope. Which I kind of get, because they don't want him to like contaminate anything, but like at the same time
they're probably in bags.
Yeah,
he could wear gloves and they could watch him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it kind of goes back to Jacobs, and then some more talk about jurisdiction, and that's where
that's where it got interesting. That's where I was highlighting. Yeah, so yeah, I was highlighting the crap out of things. So like the National Park Service is under the umbrella of the Department of the Interior, while the United States Forest Service answers to the Department of Agriculture. And there's just like different jurisdictions with like the sheriffs, and like you were saying with the like the dogs, and
which is
it's
wild.
Like a whole thing.
And it's like depending on what county or like what state you're in, and then like where Jacob went missing, the side where his bike was found was under one umbrella, but a footprint was found on the other side of the river. That was a different service, so they were under a different jurisdiction. And it's just, but the weather was bad, so they couldn't really search. But it's just like so many little things. And I understand like 50% of it is like weather. Like you can't physically go search.
Yeah.
You physically can't send like a helicopter. It's just dangerous. But the other half, it's the authorities just couldn't get it together. And
it was
like they just can't. No one can make a call.
No, and I saw there was one that it was let me see. So it said they weren't allowed to invite any outside researchers, so like any dog teams or like helicopter, like they weren't allowed to unless it was like approved through the park. And so I highlighted it. Jacob's older brother, Micah, was in the U.S. Coast Guard, and the U.S. Coast Guard, like, they offered to have, like, he was an active duty Coast Guardman. And also, Micah's father-in-law is a Coast Guard officer in Alaska, and, like, they made some calls, and they had the Coast Guard, like, willing to do flyovers And the park was like, nope.
No.
I kind of get it, but at the same time, it's like, if these people made the calls and they're willing to like take the time, I mean, I would assume this was not free, but I would assume that like they wouldn't have to be paying for it. So it's like, let them do it.
Yeah, the Navy and Coast Guard obviously are federal agencies, as in the National Park Service, but unlike the NPS, the military branches are no strangers to partnering on missions. Most, if not all, of the other outside help the NPS has access to its volunteer-based search and rescue outfits staffed with highly dedicated veterans in locating the lost. Search and rescue personnel trained for countless hours and metaphorically sit by the phone awaiting requests that don't often come.
They also had to wait to get approved for volunteer trackers.
Yeah.
And these people are like, we're willing to do, like, we're ready to go.
We can show up now.
Yeah, and they're like, no.
Hold your horses.
That kind of confused me because
like, why are we waiting so long?
It took them 6 days. So it says on the late afternoon of April 11th, nearly 6 days after Jacob's bike was first discovered, a 3-man ground team searches along riverbanks while a 2-man team searches like up above. And it's like those 6 days could have been crucial.
Yeah.
You haven't gotten to it. I don't know if you want me to spoil the...
I'll probably forget by the time I get there actually reading it.
They tell us exactly where Jacob was found. The spot could have easily been seen by helicopters. So that kind of triggered, people getting pretty mad about he probably could have been found if so
and maybe alive. Like, what if he died of hypothermia on day 4?
Yeah, they go a little into it of like what they found, his things like that, but it was pretty crazy. Also, they call it when there's like evidence, it's spoor or it's like SPOOR.
Yeah.
It's like an indication that something vegetation was moved. So it's like if there's a scuff, like moss off of a rock or part of like the land was maybe moved if he was like coming out of the stream or things like that. And so they've been trying to they did find evidence that something had clawed vegetation or scrambled out of the water. So they were trying to go on that note, but
they didn't know if that was him climbing out or falling in.
Yeah, and the thing was, so Jacob was he was a really good swimmer. He
was like a surfer.
Yeah. So they're like, if he would have fallen in, like he would have been able to get out, and there's just a lot of things that like didn't make sense.
And his poor dad's like, I've seen this kid go out surfing in like storms that he should not have been out of, and he always came home. Like,
and also several pilots offered drones to search, but park rules disallowed them. And ONP, which is, I think it's Olympic National Park, is what they drones might be of limited use anyways, but the park rules were like, nope.
No. And then search and rescue dogs were denied at first because it would disrupt like other visitors' visits. It's like, I don't think they would care. Be like, if I came to a national park and there was a dog, 1, look at the doggy working. 2, if you explain like, oh, we're looking for a missing person, be like, please go find them. I'll go hike the other direction, or do you need extra volunteers? Like, I'm gonna hike through this park anyway.
They said at one point, I highlighted it because they were talking about the dogs, and I highlighted it. It says, no, the district ranger said he doesn't think dogs will help. Which is at least try it.
What is the harm?
Dan Fox from West Coast Search Dogs of Washington said that they had a team ready to jump on the ferry and get to Olympic National Park within hours. They don't know why when you're requesting help from a like search and rescue like dog team, there has to be a mission number for it to like be approved, and that way it like can go through, so they have something to like recall. This West Coast Search of Dogs of Washington had an open mission number, but they weren't allowed to go in, and so they have no idea why the Olympic National Park would have opened up a mission number if they didn't intend to request canine help. Like they have no idea what they were kind of just giving them the runaround so that way they would stop harassing them, and then they just didn't do
the actual thing that would have helped.
And then it took the news, like it took everybody to like hound them for them to give in and approve dogs.
Like a long time later.
Yeah.
Where if there was like a good scent or something, it kind of would have gone.
By that time, yeah. And they thought maybe he left because so his parents had divorced. He was kind of saying, like Jacob was kind of saying things after his parents' divorce that like didn't really make sense. They're like he was smoking a little pot. It's like, okay, well that
big woof, yeah.
Okay. But he'd like say that he sees the color red everywhere, and he'd ask, why is everything colored red? Don't you see it?
Yeah, he was having some mental health problems.
Yeah.
He didn't have an easy time when his parents split up, and his family thought he was doing a little better, but then he was kind of going back downhill. Mm-hmm. And he had gone on weird bike trips before. Yeah. Kind of out of the blue. And this time it kind of seemed like he was going to go visit his brother like a few states away. And so that might have been why people weren't taking it terribly seriously, but his parents were very concerned because he's like athletic. He is like, he wouldn't have stopped. He would have called. He said he would check in.
Yeah, he would have called.
And he always does, usually.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there was another missing, I was going to say kid, but he was kind of around the same age.
So I have it, I was trying to find it. Zach Cruel, he's a 20-year-old Evergreen State college student, was reported missing on the other side of Olympic National Park. It definitely felt like they were trying harder to find him, and I don't want to say that they shouldn't have been. I feel like everyone should have had a fair shot and like the amount of effort that was given should have been the same.
But there were definitely more resources dedicated to finding.
Yeah, so they had people in the air.
Quicker.
It was a lot quicker. They didn't find his body originally, but on July 1st they did find Zach Cruel, and an examination confirmed it. I think they believe that he just fell. That checks out. The Cruels had a different experience in the Gray family. At no point during the initial search and rescue operation or during the many weeks that constituted the search and rescue operation did we ever feel either underserved or under-resourced. And then on the contrary, they were impressed by like everything that had gone into trying to find him. But the Gray family, like, I just feel like, I mean, it might not have mattered. He might have already like had passed away by the time that they had found him, but I feel like the efforts just weren't there.
They might.
Yeah,
the efforts might not have mattered.
Weren't there. And then we go into Nova Scotia, which I was like, this is so out of left field.
It was so jumpy around everywhere.
Yeah. I'm trying to like, if we went through every single missing person that they bring up,
we'd be here a while.
We would be here forever. I'm just going to
say we can stick to just Jacob's.
Also, I got some more stats.
Oh, we do like a good stat.
Okay, so let me go back up. I got multiple stats here. Okay. Did you know that there's roughly 640 million acres of federal land? I didn't.
Goddamn. I didn't.
They estimate that on any given day there are between 80,000 to 90,000 people actively listed with law enforcement as missing. Majority of those, of course, disappear in populated areas. That number was a lot higher than I anticipated. So the National Missing and Unidentified Person System, which is shortened to NAMUS, reporting missing persons is voluntary, but it is voluntary in all but 10 states. And law enforcement and coroner participation is voluntary as well. So that's why there's a lot of missing areas and missing information in these databases. According to this database, more than 600,000 people go missing in the United States each year. Luckily, many of these people are quickly found. 60% of the missing are male and 40% of them are female, which I thought was interesting that the males are significantly higher. California has the most missing people, 2,133. I did not look at the stats I have no idea what they are recently.
Like up to date, yeah.
I don't know when this book came out, so I'm not sure. In contrast,
I think.
Okay. Rhode Island has the fewest with 20 people. That checks out. Yeah. The most missing people per capita is Alaska with a staggering 41.8 people missing for every 100,000 people. Granted, Alaska is,
just wild.
Alaska's a wild state in general. Arizona is number 2 in terms of the missing per capita. Then Oregon's 3rd, and then Washington is 4th. For some reason, the state with the least number of missing persons per 100,000 is Massachusetts. 5th, so it goes Alaska, Arizona, Oregon, Washington, Vermont, and then Maine, Wyoming, Hawaii, New Mexico, and Montana.
Montana, I thought would have been a little higher, honestly.
Right.
But
I also thought that. I thought that it was a lot lower than anticipated. Let me go back to my tabbies. Okay. And then I'm going to find where they find. So we can just skip to Jacob.
Yeah.
When I find it, they did find Jacob. Let me go to on Friday, August 10th, a team of volunteer biologists who made a trip into the mountains to study marmots found Jacob's clothing, some gear, and a wallet with 2 driver's licenses inside on a scree field near a ridgeline above Hoy Lake, 5,300 feet above sea level and at least 15 miles from where he left his bike. His body wasn't found near a trail. In April, the terrain would have been snowy and prone to avalanches, rotten snow bridges, damp with hypothermic below freezing temperatures. And so he was found, I think, almost a year or a little over a year. He was found with tarps, a poncho liner, bike gloves, knife pouch, a backpack that had socks, a cap, a fleece jacket, a blue jacket, carabiners and P-cord, hiking pole, boots, hammock, a wool jacket, a belt, compass, wallet and contents, Zippo lighter, Leatherman and pouch, Bible, Carhartt pants, and some more pants. There was I think they had found they did find bones. So they collected 1 human skull and then various skeleton parts. So the bones were scattered along the slope in a pattern described by rangers as upper field and lower field. And the dental records, I believe, is what put him up there. But to find all of that, like, it's just kind of crazy.
Yeah, and all next to each other.
Jacob didn't appear to have his running shoes with him, no footwear besides the boots, and Jacob didn't appear to have carried a sleeping bag up the mountain with him. His bag was found with the items at the bike along the Sulduk, so they're not sure if he was trying to save weight and pack just an emergency blanket because that's all he had on him.
Yeah.
Like, was he just intending to sleep in the hammock for one night and thought he'd be fine?
Yeah.
They have no idea. The idea that a wool coat and a foil blanket could suffice is not by any stretch rational, but then at 22, they're like, well, he could have just made like a really poor life decision. But it kind of, to have a sleeping bag like down there. His skull came down the mountain first, and then the remainder of his bones they'd recovered were held up due to the emergency involving a woman from Iowa. Oh yeah, a woman from Iowa also passed like the same time that they found his bones, and she went into cardiac arrest like in the middle of a trail, and so they were trying to help her. It was a whole thing.
How far away from his bike did you say? 15
miles.
Jesus.
Yeah. And it's pretty high up. His dad they like figured out the coordinates of where his body was. And so they did go up there. Let me see. So what happened to Jacob will forever remain a mystery. The autopsy work was done in King County, Seattle, but the county coroner's office told Jon Billman, the author, the official cause of death is inconclusive, but they positively identified him through dental records. It's likely Jacob succumbed to hypothermia, but they're not sure. He was found kind of like it's really hard to get up there, so they're not quite sure why he went up so high unless he was trying to like look down to see where
the like he would have
trail
to really wanted to get up there.
Yeah. But they did go up there. They did like spend the night like where they found him.
Aww.
Yeah, so it was pretty sad. It's just kind of weird. So I'm not sure why he was like up there for so long, and I mean it makes sense that like no one really knew, but if I remember correctly, it was pretty clear, and so I feel like he could have been found. I was trying to find where the dad also did some like crazy stuff. Like he was swimming, he was grabbing giant rocks, jumping off of waterfalls to go down. Like he
was I mean, everyone was telling him, no, we can't send rescue, we can't send searchers. So he really woke up in the middle, like super, super early and got out there first thing he could, put on his wetsuit, sacrifice his health. He got like gout or something in his foot. Like
he really screwed up his feet.
He really, I mean, and he was an older man at the beginning of this. I mean, it was like a year process, but he was already, older and not like the greatest of health.
Yeah.
And really, really did everything to try to find his son. He was focused mainly on the water, but
he really thought that he was like down in the, which it makes sense.
Yeah. Because why would he go up?
Yeah. And he was up there for he went really far. I was trying to find where it talks about, but so they go up, and then they kind of found, they're like, okay, this is it, like we're here, and they're kind of looking around to see like if they had missed anything or if there's any other things there. They did find, it was kind of weird, they like thought it was a bear paw, and then it was like its bone, and then its finger bone, and he was like holding the like finger bone to his hand to verify. And then they're like, "Are you sure it's not from a bear?" And then Micah, the older brother, like nods, and they like found another bone. So they like found some more of his like finger bone. I was like,
oh,
yeah. But yeah, so they stayed up there a night. It just kind of, yeah.
It must be such a weird feeling because like you've been just to finally know.
Yeah.
Because I mean, not knowing alive or dead, if he's still suffering, or that can't be.
Yeah, it's just kind of crazy that I thought for sure they talked about it's basically like a ridge line is where he was at, and so he was like able to look up and see like smoke. He was able to see like
maybe he just wanted to overlook.
He might have, yeah. But yeah, this book, I feel like it did a good job with Jacob's story.
Yeah.
But
it brought in too many cases, which I can see that it's hard not to because there are so many cases and he was a journalist and trying to report on all these. So I'm sure he had a lot in his head where he was like, well, I need to mention them too. But
it's just, and I get that it says like North America's wilderness. I definitely thought it was like Washington, or I thought it like honed in more on.
I thought it, yeah, in my head it was Pacific Northwest.
I thought so, but oh well. But it just, I don't know, it kind of just.
I just think laying out the all this information could have been better. I think it could have been better digested in a different layout.
Yeah. Do we dare want to do the rowdy 1-star reviews?
We can see. I mean, it's always weird with nonfictions because like you can't like what you're gonna like topic you can't like dislike.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, you can't like I didn't like the main character.
Yeah. I hated how they went missing.
Right? Okay.
It's like so did we, but
right. So this is at a 3.69 stars.
That's lower than okay, that makes sense. That feels
out.
right for what it is. Yeah.
6,907 ratings. It is mainly at a 4-star, and then 3 is behind it.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's see. DNF.
Oh.
Yeah, they didn't like that there's a lot of like Bigfoot talk. Oh, I don't know about this. Someone gave it 1 star and then wrote, "I'm related to Jacob and this book is a sham. The author did not get permission to use names from any of the family members. He also made up quotes and facts. He didn't even get the family relationships right." I don't know.
I don't know about that. I mean,
I feel like they might. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, you looked it up and
yeah, it might be like the family dynamic. I'm not entirely sure.
I mean, maybe like the brother's name is not right, but maybe the brother asked to not have his name in it.
He might have been.
Maybe he changed. Yeah.
Mandy gets it so poorly written that I had to stop halfway through. It's like there wasn't an editor on this book. Author kept repeating the same info in sometimes exact sentences. Also lost me at Bigfoot references. Very disappointed.
Yeah.
I didn't like how this book was told. I was hoping for more stories about missing people, but this book focuses mostly on one story in particular and didn't find that story interesting.
It needed to choose one or the other. It needed to focus more on Jacob, or it needed to be a multi-story thing.
Yeah, the constant Bigfoot decisions were annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not good.
I don't think he's cut out for full novel writing.
Does he?
Nothing. I just looked at what else he's written.
Oh, I was just about to. Yeah. What else?
That's a time. I want to see your reaction to that. Yep, there it is. The immediate head tilt.
Dog is my co-pilot. Great writers on the world's oldest friendship. When we were wolves. Okay.
Stories.
Bicycle tramps.
Everything was like before 2010s.
Okay.
Yeah. If you guys know of a book of this topic of missing persons in national parks or forests, preferably in like Pacific Northwest, because that's where we are.
Yeah.
Or just North America in general that is well written or that you like, please recommend it to us, because we are really intrigued by that topic, and we would like to read a good book about it.
Yeah, this one's not good. I will say though, really off topic, not really off topic, true crime topic, but like not about this book.
Yeah.
Did you see Chad Daybell and the trial with Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell? Did you see that?
No.
He's got guilty verdict on everything, killing his current wife's 2 kids and his first wife, and just got the death penalty this weekend.
What state are they in?
Idaho. You can get the death penalty in Idaho. Lori Vallow was supposed to get the death penalty, but due to the prosecutors giving late evidence, it kind of got also fucky wucky, and legally they could not give her the death penalty, so that's why she is serving life in prison.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I'm making a decision.
I really need to.
I don't think I'm gonna finish this book.
I would not. Yeah, like I said, I'm getting rid of mine. I need to finish watching the trial. They did allow cameras in this trial. They did not allow cameras in the Lori Vallow trial. I do need to read the book. I do own the book. When the something about blood. Moon turns to blood. Moon. I don't know. I don't know. I need to read that.
Maybe we should do one where we each read a true crime book.
We should.
And tell each other the cases.
Because you have some true crime that I don't.
I have some. I'm pretty sure.
I have the Brian Koberger book, which that one's still. I don't even know if that's going to go into trial. My dad got me into, I think her name is Karen Reed. Supposedly she ran over her boyfriend, who is a cop, and left him for dead in the snow. And then she's saying she's not guilty and that the other cops are framing her for his death because he died by his cop friends' house because they were all supposed to go to a party. It's a whole thing. Yeah. So I started that trial. That's going to be a long one. That's still going on, I think. They're long trials, guys. The Chad Daybell one was like 18 days, I think. And that one, like, they're all day. Like, they're long, like 7-8 hours. Like, they're really long trials. So at some point I got to. But yeah, if you guys have any recommendations on like missing people or things like that go vanish, kind of like Missing 411, if you guys have ever watched that.
If you had the chance, that's no longer on.
I know. Yeah. I'm so sad about it.
I wonder why they took it off. It's older now, but it was good.
I'd almost be interested by reading the books. Like if the books are any good.
Yeah, I wonder how the books are. I guess it would depend kind of when they came out and the writing.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, give us some true crimey, morbid nonfiction. We like them weird topics.
Not too weird, but yeah. Weird.
Not too weird.
Not get crazy.
Like, something like you do a double take at.
Yeah. Yeah, just send us. Well, if you follow us on Instagram, you can message us. I do check that.
Yes.
When I post.
Oh, good. Someone does. I definitely do not. And I will make and post the June schedule. We have that figured out. I just need to make it. Apologies. Yeah. June really snuck up on my ass. really came out of nowhere.
We'll get there. We'll get there. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Oh, Lordy. But yeah, I'm officially DNFing this one.
I don't blame you one bit. Yeah.
Taking my tabs back.
I'm not keeping mine. Really excited though to talk about next episode's book.
I am pretty excited. I keep wanting to say Butcher in the Red though.
I know. I know. I do the same.
But we have a romance.
Yeah, I'd consider a
rom-com. I
guess.
Butcher and Blackbird.
Yes.
So and then we'll be kind of caught up.
Almost. I need to now it's gonna be on me because
on Ashlee.
Because I need to finish the June's first pick.
Yeah.
I'll get there.
We'll get there. We'll get there. I don't even remember what book we're reading after that one.
Finley. Oh, after Finley?
Yeah.
After Finley. Wait.
Dual choice?
1, 2. Maybe in Another Life.
Oh, okay. Let's see how that goes.
1, 2. Then
wait, don't go spoiling it for them. If they want to know our schedule, they'll have to go to our Instagram, My Baby Got Stacks podcast, where there's a link in the bio where they can check out our good reads, see what they have on what we have on our shelves.
Smooth.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, like and follow wherever you listen to this podcast. This one's going to be kind of a longer-ish one. I'm going to not cut out a lot of it so we can get it posted.
There's a lot to talk about.
It's going to be happening.
It's going to be
Bigfoot. I think all the Bigfoot talk is what made me feel like it was supposed to be in the Pacific Northwest focus.
It's ridiculous. Next episode is going to be way shorter because it's not going to be as crazy.
There's also a lot of deaths.
Yeah, I was cringing. I was cringing a little at some of that. I was like, "Oh, God." We'll talk about it. Go listen to the next episode.
Okay, we'll see you there. Bye.
Bye.